All right, welcome to the Snowflake Sports Podcast. It is 7:48 Eastern Standard Time. It is March 30th, and I have together on this quarantined stay-in-home day, it's Fritz. How you doing, Fritz?
I'm good, Dan. I'm very lonely, but
Dude, you have
good.
like 3 cats, though, right?
I have 3 cats and a dog and 2 roommates.
Yeah, nice.
In that order.
Yeah. So it seems like a pretty good environment, you know? So we're going to have a little special discussion today, and I was hoping to do this more in the summer, but with all COVID-19 and sports being on hold, kind of just push it up today. We're going to have the ultimate GOAT conversation. So we're going to talk about football first, and then we'll go to basketball. It's probably going to be more a basketball one because obviously the basketball one I think is just much more close. All right, well, we'll just get into it. So at least I'm going to start with the NFL greatest of all time, which I think is obviously Tom Brady, and I hate him. He's been the bane of my existence since I've existed. So, but just to go off the top with just his stats, he has 74,571 yards on 7.5 yards per attempt. He has 541 TDs to 179 interceptions. 63.8% completion percentage, 219 wins to 64 losses, 45 game-winning drives, and just to top it all off, he had 6 rings. And then, so I think with the whole, when you talk about the greatest of all time, you have to consider both excellency and longevity. Excellency in the sense that at the player's peak, there's no doubt in everyone's mind that they are the best. So I think at least I thought that Brady's greatest season was that 2007 season when they had Randy Moss.
What was that last?
What's up?
What was that last thing you said?
What
was that last thing you said?
So excellency in the sense that at the player's peak, there is no doubt in everyone's mind that they are the best.
What was the other thing?
Oh, that his greatest season was 2007.
No, I mean you said something about longevity, and I just want you to remember that.
Oh, okay. For the future. Yeah, okay. But say, so 2007, that was the Randy Moss, Wes Welker, Dante Stallworth year. He throws for 4,800 yards, 50 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions, while also doing 8.3 yards per attempt. So, the whole concept of that he doesn't throw downfield, that's more of a newer Brady kind of thing. He was chucking it deep. I mean, granted, you have Randy Moss, right? You could totally do that. But 117.2 passer rating, 88.5 QBR, and 4 game-winning drives there. All right, so basically I thought that he had 2 dynasty runs in the playoffs that were separated by 10 years. So 2001 to 2004, they won 3 chips. 2014, 2019, he wins 3 chips. I think they went to the Super Bowl 4 straight times. And I know, right, he's got Bill Belichick, and he's got the greatest coach of all time, which is definitely true. But, I just feel like he makes the right decision every single time. And
wait, again, what did you just say?
What, he makes the right decision every single time?
Okay, I just also want you to remember that.
I feel like you're not prepared for this at all for football, and then you're just gonna come.
No, it's okay. I'm ready for the football one, but we're coming.
Okay. Blah, blah, blah. I lost my train of thought. Thanks. Anyways, so basically, he always made the right decision, and it might not look as sexy or anything, especially, but even in 2007, he was chucking it deep, and I know they don't win the Super Bowl that year because they go 18-1 and lose to the Giants. It was just stellar, and he's right. He's gonna go to the Bucks, and I still think he's got some playing in him. I'm running out of words.
I want to be clear. He's gonna make a player out of Scotty Miller.
I don't even know who Scotty Miller is.
So the only reason I know this is because one of my best friends is a Bucks fan. But they have a little speed demon of a slot receiver that played for Bowling Green, and nobody knows who he is, but he's got track speed, and he's just this little white guy who just absolutely flies. You go watch his highlights. He's one of the fastest players, one of the fastest receivers in the league right now. But nobody knows who he is because he's a 4th round fourth string receiver at best. But he is also the exact person that Tom Brady would love.
Nice. So I was listening to the Fantasy Football Test that the Ringer does with Danny Heifetz and Danny Kelly. They were talking a lot about just how like the Bucs in general, just like Mike Evans is gonna kind of like degress just because that deep ball isn't there when Brady's 43, and like Chris Godwin could maybe pick up that role, but like he also was dependent on that Jameis Winston like fuck it.
Yeah, that's the thing is that Bruce Arians is a big shot, deep play kind of guy, and that's not what. And also, I mean, the way that Brady likes to play, they are not built for that. They don't have the defensive coaching that he's been able to rely on. They don't have like the little water sprite receivers that he likes to throw to. Like even the guy I was just talking about, Scotty Miller, he's still a deep ball guy because he's so fucking fast. Like all of their receivers are like big play guys. They don't really have like a set slot receiver like you would. But the only upside is that they have O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate, who are O.J. Howard is more potential than anything, but Cameron Brate is just a reliable, solid tight end, and Tom loves the tight ends. But
yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
I guess just going back to Brady though, I just like it's just the decisionness. I think is just the overarching thing, and just even the stats like back it up because he's played fucking forever. Just almost having 75,000. He will have 75,000 yards because he keeps playing. He has over 500 TDs. Like the 6 rings, very important. And I do understand that the rings is not the like end all be all. Even though we're gonna go into this more in the NBA, I think it is a very important stat. Though I would argue that it's more important in basketball than NFL because there's a lot more players.
I would
in the
also
football game. So. Yeah, I guess that's just my defense for Brady. So coming into this, Fritz is a Packers fan, and I thought he would go with Aaron Rodgers. But who do you have as the GOAT?
Well, I'm going to break this up into a couple sections here. I do personally think that Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than Tom Brady. I think if in a vacuum somebody were making, if you had a team that was going to, in some sort of weird parallel universe, be able to play another team with the exact same players and the exact same coach and the exact same scheme, aside from the fact that they would know everything about each other, and if it was just Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers, I think Aaron Rodgers' team would win. And I don't think a lot of people would disagree with that, just because of his ability. And I think it has showed over and over again, and if you look at over his career average statistics, they're all better than Tom Brady's. Like his, like yards per attempt and like yards per game or yards per season or receptions per season or touchdown to interception ratio, which is, by the way, touchdown to interception ratio and career QBR best in NFL history. The only year in Aaron Rodgers' career that he has had a top 10 defense, besides last year, he won the Super Bowl. Tom Brady has had a top 10 defense almost every single year that he has played. He has gotten to play with the best coach of all time. He has gotten to play with the greatest tight end of all time. He has gotten to play with, debatably, some people would say the greatest, but those people would be wrong, the second greatest wide receiver of all time at best. And again, like Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer, he's gotten that continuity every single year, and that is so unbelievably huge. I honestly really don't care about the rings argument in football, because if we're talking about quarterbacks, that's the only time we bring that up. It's the only position where we bring it up. Like if we're talking about who's the greatest running back of all time, we talk about running back stats. If we talk about who's the best cornerback of all time, it's cornerback stats. If we talk about who's the best wide receiver of all time, it's who has the best receiving stats. We talk about who's the best quarterback of all time, who won the most Super Bowls. It's a bullshit argument, and I understand that it's important, but I don't think there's a single person who is not in denial that if you thought the Patriots had started their career where Tom Brady was with Aaron Rodgers, that they wouldn't have at least as many Super Bowls as he does. Again, just because of his ability. I think by every statistical measure, he's better. And I think, like, even when Tom Brady got injured, the one season he was out, they still went like, what was it? Like 11-5? Yeah. They're fine. And then the 4 games that he got suspended, they went 3-1 with Jimmy G and Jacoby Brissett. Every year, Bill Belichick, he's such a good fucking coach that they cut their best players and then get better. Tom Brady had a garbage season last year, and they still made it to the playoffs. And Tennessee had to fight to beat them. And I don't know. It's hard for me to wrap my head. The rings argument is so hard for people to get past. But I think in a vacuum, I cannot imagine that somebody like Aaron Rodgers would, if he had been gifted all of the things that Tom Brady has been gifted throughout his career and all the opportunities. And I'm not saying that like longevity and continuity and Tom Brady has worked his ass off to be as dependable as possible. And the fact that he's better at doing what he does better than anybody else in the league. Those, quick passes, he gets rid of the ball immediately if it's not there. And by the way, Skip Bayless, fuck you, because that's all Tom Brady did his entire career. And then Aaron Rodgers has one season where he's throwing the ball away because none of his receivers are open. And then we start counting throwaways. It's bullshit. I'm tired of that fucking crusty old man.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And you mentioned that Tom Brady, he's not as pretty of a player. Again, you want to tell me what Tom Brady's highlights are. Like, if I ask you to think of Tom Brady's highlights, besides like winning Super Bowls, and I know I just downplayed winning Super Bowls, but like Super Bowls are a team effort. The whole team has to come together. When we're talking about Tom Brady's highlights, what do you think of? Is there a certain play that comes to your mind?
There's not a certain play, and
I can think of like 10 for Aaron Rodgers off the top of my head where my jaw hit the fucking floor.
Right, but that's just like the flashiness of it. So
that's skill.
Right, but like the Super Bowls, right? The first one, I don't know, there was like 2 minutes left in the game or something, and they had to like march on the field, and he was like a second year, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And he yes, he's just not throwing crazy passes, but he's throwing these like shorter slants that get him 14 yards, and then he gets them right up to the field. They know what they're doing, and this is still like young Belichick. And I know he's like a genius and like was in the league for forever even by that point. But like he still did that. Like I don't think it's a single highlight, but like if you took one of those game-winning drives and you watch that for like 3 minutes, I think it's pretty impressive.
I also saw this statistic on posted by this guy that I follow. If you took the average scores of all of Tom Brady or all of the Patriots playoff games, all of the average scores that his defenses have let up, and averaged that all together, and took that score against all of the playoff games that Aaron Rodgers had played, he was either undefeated or had lost like one game.
Well, that Giants one was like a shootout, right? That 2011, right? Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, again, I'm not saying he's not incredible. Like, he has come up in these huge clutch moments, but it is a team sport, and Aaron Rodgers has not had a fucking defense for his majority of his career. Go look at the Packers have been in the NFC Championship 50% of the last 6 years.
Well,
not a lot of people realize that.
Yeah.
And the one against the Seahawks is still the worst football game I've ever seen in my entire life. They should have been to the Super Bowl. Do you know twice in the past 6 years, we have been denied an Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, I would have. What was it? Not last year, but the year before. I would have loved a Breeze Brady Super Bowl, especially just because they're both like kind of the same age, and it's just like Battle of the Titans thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have loved to see a Rodgers Brady one.
So yeah, if I'm gonna say who I think the greatest quarterback to ever live is, if I'm starting a team and I'm like, who's on your team? Who are you gonna pick to, lead your entire franchise for the rest of the career? If we're picking teams, I can create the perfect roster. Are you picking Tom Brady?
I think so, because it's just the competitive nature, though.
Because I know I would pick Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
But that's besides the point, because I actually don't think either of these players is the greatest football player to ever live.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's Jerry Rice.
Okay.
Specifically because the Jerry Rice's receiving records are unbreakable. Not only are they ungodly numbers, he's the only he's the only player in NFL history that nobody debates at his position who the greatest of all time was.
Yeah.
You want to talk about running backs? You got Jim Brown, you got Walter Payton, you got Barry Sanders, you got LaDainian Tomlinson, you got Adrian Peterson. You have a million. I mean, you could take a 10. I mean, really, it's between Barry Sanders and Jim Brown. I think it's Jim Brown, but regardless, also the fact that those two guys did what they did and the records that they set in the short amount of time that they were playing, but
definitely.
Nobody argues that Jerry Rice is the greatest receiver of all time, and it's because hold on, I have the stats. I'm gonna pull them back up. So, mind you, this was in the time when the league was a running league.
Yeah.
So, his career receptions, 1,549. The next closest is Tony Gonzalez with 1,325. He's over 200 receptions more than Tony Gonzalez. Receiving yards, he has 22,895. The next closest is T.O., more than 7,000 yards less.
Ooh, okay.
And then receiving touchdowns, he's at 197. He almost hit 200 receiving touchdowns. And the next closest is Randy Moss at 156. Nobody in this lifetime is going to beat any of Jerry Rice's records. They're too good. And personally, I've always been on the side that I respect. There's a couple players in the past that I'm like, they would have absolutely shit on every single other person in the league. Like, you look at old Jim Brown plays in today's game, he'd be the best running back in the league. It's not even close. But you look at a guy like Don Hudson. If you go look at Don Hudson, Green Bay Packers receiver back when the helmets were still made of leather, his records are untouchable. But back in a league where guys went to work and then went to go play football after work, they're not guys that have been training since they were 4. And I think that the general level of talent in all sports is just going to continue to rise and rise. So I think, and that also means defensively, so I don't think that anybody's ever touching those records. I don't think anybody is ever even going to get close to Jerry Rice's records. And that's why I think he's the greatest person to ever play football. I think nobody is ever even going to touch him.
Okay. So at least by receiver-wise, you're completely right. No one in their right mind would ever argue that Jerry Rice is not the best wide receiver of all time. It's kind of crazy that he's never won an MVP.
Yeah.
Was it Steve Montana, or is it or was it Steve Young, or was it both? I always forget.
Yeah, I think he had both.
Okay. But I think he carried Steve Young a lot of those years. And yeah. I don't watch a lot of older NFL games, so I'm not really saying this out of my own like opinion. This is just what I've heard more. But like you just spewed off the stats, like it's just absurd how high they are. I do think though that like the way the NFL is kind of trending and is being more pass happy, that like someone could break his records if like right like if the game is like 55 passes a game and like 15 rushes, like someone if you just get like a Michael Thomas and he just keeps grabbing these crazy things and just plays like forever, it might be possible. But like still like right now currently it's just absurd how high those are.
Yeah, the fact that he has all three of them though is ridiculous.
By the way,
back to my there was one more thing that I forgot to mention when I was talking about Brady. We argue that Brady is the greatest of all time, but Brady doesn't have any statistical records. He doesn't have the most passing yards of all time. He doesn't have the most passing touchdowns of all time. He doesn't have the most passing yards in a single season, most touchdowns in a single season. He doesn't have touchdown to interception ratio. He doesn't have, best QBR. He doesn't have.
I'm pretty sure he has the most passing yards.
That's Drew Brees.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
And by the way, Patrick Mahomes. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't beat that, Patrick Mahomes will.
Yeah, definitely.
So, to be called the GOAT when you don't even have any stat records.
Well, I mean, he's second, right? And then, like, who has the most touchdown passes? He's
probably I believe that's Peyton. Is that Peyton?
Probably. That's what I'm thinking. Should have done more research in this, but yeah. So I think he's like close enough in all of them, and that's the whole like when you spread it out.
Oh, it's Drew Brees. He's up by 6.
Okay. Right, but he could still like pass him. We'll see.
He could.
I both like good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Drew Brees is more than that.
Right, he is what 4 years younger. I think he's like 39, 38 or something. All right, so at least to counter the yards per attempt, so like with I guess against just Rodgers and Brady. So Rodgers career-wise is 7.7 yards per attempt, and Brady's, including all this like short dump passes that he does now, is 7.5. So it's really not that far off. And like, how old is Rodgers now? He's like 31, 32?
No, I think he's like 36.
36, really?
Yeah, he might be 35.
Okay, so like, I would hope that he keeps playing, but is he gonna play into his 40s? Like his
yes.
Like, is he gonna follow?
So he's 36, but he's been very clear that he's gonna play for as long as he wants to. And that's the thing is, Aaron Rodgers is still a mobile quarterback, but he's gonna change his game, and it's. I hope he does. I hope he's not trying.
I think he'll have to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like mobile, where I feel like he just moves out of the pocket. Like he definitely has a better presence in that than Brady, and just more athleticism. I don't think he's gonna run, as much as he does. And I think
that's honestly that's why I think Aaron Rodgers. That's like the number one thing that stands out to me is his pocket presence and like his ability to maneuver and just know where everybody is behind him at all times. Like there are some plays where he's just like extending it like 7 or 8 seconds, and I'm just like, how is nobody touching you right now? Like he's just bobbing and weaving throughout everybody. There's a couple plays. There's like one against the 49ers. I know there's one against the Giants in the playoffs a couple years ago. But like it's like a fucking watching a wizard just like work. It's
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But so I guess just to go back, because you don't think he's the best, you think that Jerry Rice is the best, right?
Yeah, specifically because you can make arguments for everybody except for Jerry Rice.
Oh, so you're
saying Jerry Rice
that,
is
he's undoubtedly the best.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Because I think if I'm gonna rate, because honestly I'm not. I mean, you know how I feel about how like quarterbacks get preferential treatment. I think if we're talking about players who have absolutely dominated their positions, I wouldn't put, even if Tom Brady was better than Aaron Rodgers, I wouldn't put him better than 5th. I'd have probably first I would have Jerry Rice. Second I would have Reggie White. Third Lawrence Taylor. Fourth Jim Brown.
Really, Reggie White, like the Colts Reggie White? No.
Reggie White, like like the defensive end who used to eat people for breakfast, Reggie White.
Right, okay.
The guy who lifted and put Chris Carter straight on his ass with one arm.
Okay.
Ever seen that video? He literally
I don't think so, but
like,
I'll look it up.
like Chris Carter was supposed to be blocking on a play, and Reggie White got a hold of him. Literally with one arm, he literally just throws him. He throws him a good time. Like it doesn't look human.
Oh, damn.
But he's one of those like superhuman creatures that like if you go back and watch his play, it's not even fair. He would just take somebody and be like, "Hey, you're a child. We're gonna bring you back to your quarterback father."
Yeah. All right, just to counter the whole like preferential treatment of the quarterback, like you cannot compete in the NFL, especially nowadays. I think this was still prevalent back then, but even though it was more running, you like look at the Bears this year, the same division as the Packers. Like Trubisky cannot compete, and he's not really a starting quarterback. They have like such a talented defense, and you got Allen Robinson too. Wide receiver, like this team should be really good. Like it should be like almost like a championship team, but like with Trubisky, like you just limits you. So I think
I get that. I think the only thing is that you're with quarterback is the one besides like middle linebacker or maybe like a safety and back. Yeah, it's by far the most cerebral position, and not, like. It's also like you could argue that quarterback is the least athletic position.
Oh yeah.
So like the actual skill that you need is, people talk about quarterback like, it's the hardest position to play. That's because most of it is cerebral, and you just have to also add in the throwing talent. But like, if anybody's ever like played football and tried to play all of the positions, the easiest one to play is quarterback. And I'm not saying that anybody can play quarterback because, there is the whole cerebral part of it, and there's so much that goes to it. But it's just, I don't know, it's hard for me to just take that fact, the fact that you have to like be so aware of everything that's going on and like know the playbook so well, whereas like a running back, your instincts have to be like, you're not allowed to think, your body just has to do it. Like you have to fucking hit the hole and like tunnel vision. We played sports, Dan. I don't know about
yes, you did.
But like I have done shit on fields and then thought back of like, why didn't I just cut that way? Like your brain just fucking stops. I've played quarterback before. It's not hard to I mean, again, I don't want to, downplay what NFL quarterbacks have to do, but I think that it does get hyped up a little bit. Whereas you see these other guys like Aaron Donald, who almost broke fucking Michael Strahan's sack record as a defensive tackle, and nobody even sniffs at the fact that he might be MVP.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, to counter that Donald thing, it's just the fact that Mahomes had an unprecedented year. Like, if it wasn't like some quarterback just breaking records, like, I think he would have been more in the conversation. But yeah, no, it is kind of sad because like people like Donald or even like Jerry Rice, they don't get the credit they deserve. Like, obviously Jerry Rice should have won the MVP once, right? Like, for all those years, he should have won at least one time, but he never got hit to. All right, I think that's it for football because I want to do the chunk of it with basketball because I think this will be more fun. I'm gonna let you start because you were coming at me hot today.
Do you want me to just go?
Yeah, I would just go.
And I'll let you just take it all in, see if you can come up with an argument.
Yeah, I'll let you do you.
All right. So we are here today to talk about who is the greatest basketball player of all time between what I assume 99% at the very least amount of people, excluding Kobe Bryant fans, what RIP would say is between LeBron James and Michael Jordan. I also think that most people think it is Michael Jordan. I'm here to tell everybody here why that is wrong. Let's start off with my favorite argument. Michael Jordan has 6 rings. He has more MVPs. He has more Finals MVPs. Because if awards are the standard that we are going off of right now, then Michael Jordan is not the greatest of all time. It's either Bill Russell or Kareem. So I don't really think that holds too much water. I think it is more important in basketball to win championships. But if we're going to talk about who's the greatest of all time, and that's your only argument that you have, which the majority of Jordan fans have, it is their biggest and sometimes their only argument is the 6-0, which, by the way, I will explain later, is a broken argument. It doesn't matter because Kareem also has 6. Bill Russell has like 13. See, what is it? 11 or 13? It's one of those two. But
I believe 11 out of 13 seasons.
Yeah. So nobody's touching that. But I digress. Let's start with statistics because let's see who is just a general overall better statistical player. I'm sure nobody wants to know about regular season statistics because it's the regular season. Nobody gives a fuck about the regular season in basketball. But just for everybody's knowledge, LeBron is ahead of Michael Jordan in almost every single statistical category. Let's go to statistical or playoff statistics of their entire careers. If we are talking who had more game minutes, points, field goal, who had higher field goal percentage, more 3 points made, higher 3-point percentage, free throw percentage, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, rebounds in total, assists, steals, blocks, true shooting percentage, and effective field goal percentage. Those are all the stats we're going off of. If we are talking about overall careers, LeBron James beats Michael Jordan in every single one of those categories except for free throw percentages, and they're tied for 3-point percentages. That one actually surprised me. But I digress. Because people are going to talk about, well, LeBron James played more, of course he's going to have... First off, longevity, important. We talked about that. But who cares? Let's do this for shits and giggles. Let's do who has the higher percentages per game. Because not only is that more fair to Michael Jordan, but also because LeBron James played more games, his statistics have a better chance of being lower. So let's go. Who has more minutes? LeBron James. Who has more points per game? That's actually Jordan. He's up by, I think, about 4. 3 points made per game? LeBron James. Offensive rebounds per game? Michael Jordan by 0.2. Defensive rebounds per game, LeBron James. Rebounds per game total, LeBron James. Assists per game, LeBron James. Steals per game, Jordan. Blocks per game, LeBron James. True shooting percentage and effective field goal percentage, LeBron James. So that is 6-3 if we're going per game. If we're talking all time, it's 13-1. So that is my statistical argument for why LeBron James is a better player. That is my first page. So we got 5 of these bad boys. Now, I'm tired of the arguments that LeBron James did not have nearly as much competition. He got to play with better players. He played in a softer league, because that's not true. So we are going to go through a quick little bloop of history right now. We're going to go through what all of these players did in the finals. LeBron James' first stint in the finals, he played against the starting up Spurs dynasty with Parker, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan, Popovich.
All right, hold on. I wouldn't say it's starting up. They were like in the heat of it, right? This is like their 4th title.
No, this is 2000. Were they 2007?
So they won in '99. They went in 2001, 2003, and then 2007.
Thank you. That actually
keep
helps.
going. Yeah.
So, and then they also had Robert Horry. So he was finishing his career. Still a great player. LeBron James. he had players that you might find notable. Zydrunas Ilgauskas, Larry Hughes, Anderson Varejao, Eric Snow. If any of those names ring a bell to anybody listening, congratulations, you pay deep attention to basketball. None of those players were all-stars ever. Quick note, taking a team to the finals by themselves, which is what LeBron James did that year, is something that Michael Jordan never did a single time. Every single time he had his own dynasty that he was working with, every single time that he was by himself, he did not make it past the first round. That's true. LeBron James, on the other hand, did it once at least, debatably twice. 2011, Mavs versus the Heat. This is LeBron James' biggest black mark. It is his biggest criticism that he absolutely melted down. This is the first time LeBron James got to play in, the playoffs and the finals with an actual built team around him with other stars. But I don't think that's enough to excuse him. The only asterisk I'm going to put on this is that I think that season was less about the Heat melting down than it was the Mavs having the fucking greatest run in sports history. I don't know if you remember this, but the Mavs swept the Blazers, swept the 2-seed stacked Lakers. They were incredible. And then they went 4-1, almost swept the Thunder, who at that point also had all of their stars on the team, another stacked team. And then they went and beat the Heatles. So, personally, I think that story is more about the Mavs just like doing a fucking miracle on ice, only on a basketball court. But you know what? If anybody wants to criticize LeBron James for that, it's completely fair. The only other one that I would criticize him for is his loss against the Spurs dynasty in 2014. 2013, he beats the Spurs dynasty. LeBron James led the comeback that led to the Ray Allen 3. Everybody talks about how Ray Allen bailed him out. They were down by either 9 or 10 points with not a lot of time left, and LeBron James scored or assisted all those points up until that 3 that Ray Allen hit. All right, let's go to 2015. This is where we're going to start talking about the Warriors. Dan, quick question. Is there a single team that Michael Jordan played against in the finals that was as good as any of the 4 Warriors teams that LeBron James played?
No, but the 96 team is a better team than any of the Warriors team, in my opinion.
You think the 96 team was better than any of the Warriors teams?
Yeah, so with Jordan, Pippen, Horace Grant, and Dennis Rodman.
Oh,
yeah.
No. Oh, sorry. Yes. Actually, again, thank you. So that's 4 years of the greatest basketball dynasty I think people would agree with. I mean, it's debatable because you could talk about the Spurs, you can talk about the Bulls, but accumulation of talent, I don't think anybody would agree or disagree that stint of the Warriors was just completely unbeatable. It changed basketball. But let's also add in the fact that Kevin Love injured, and then they were beating the Warriors in the finals until Kyrie got hurt, and then they ended up losing. They were up 2-1. Kyrie gets hurt, and then the next best player is Matthew Dellavedova. You can't get past that. Next year, 2016, the greatest comeback in sports history. The only time anybody has ever come back from a 3-1 finals deficit away against the greatest statistical team, or record-wise, or whatever you want to call it, in NBA history. A lot of people are going to talk about the Bulls being the greatest team. That's a fine argument for another day. But I think that series solidified him as the GOAT. But let's continue because LeBron James' career ain't over. 2017, the only time anybody in NBA history has ever averaged a triple-double in the finals, and he still lost. That's not his fault. And I'm pretty sure Kevin Love also got... No, that was the next year that Kevin Love got hurt. But they had two of the greatest shooters, if not the two greatest shooters of all time, Kevin Durant and Draymond Green, in a Defensive Player of the Year. Like, it was too much. I'm sorry, but Jordan would have not also been able to handle that team. If you want to talk about... personally, I don't think that Bulls team could have beaten that Warriors team. I think there was way too much talent, but I'm going to keep going. 2018, we know what happened. Kyrie left, Kevin Love got hurt, and LeBron James was still able to drag that team to the finals. He went 51-8-8, and then JR screwed up the whole thing, and I don't know if you've ever played sports before. That's a lie. I know you have. But we know how important momentum is for sports. That blow devastated that entire team because LeBron James knew that they needed to win that first game, and he had them.
Yeah. Just a little quick bit on the momentum thing. I do hate when analysts try to throw that away. Momentum does not exist. That is very real. But keep going.
I remember we used to play it when we had a game at Cortland where we were kicking the shit out of them, and then their sideline went to go get a whole bunch of people, and they just started screaming, and then the game literally shifted.
Oh yeah,
because it's insane. But regardless, 2019, the Lakers were being talked about, and I think they were either second or third in the West with. I don't know if you would agree with this, but I would say a garbage roster. I think the Lakers had a terrible roster last year. But, second or third in the Western Conference, and LeBron gets hurt, they miss the playoffs. Again, I just want to go back to the whole awards argument. The fact that LeBron James has not been the MVP every year for the past 9 years is bullshit. It is complete bullshit because he has been the most valuable player in the NBA, and his record shows you that, of him leading the Cavs to the finals, and then leaving them, and then being a dog shit team, and then going to the Heat, and then they make it to the finals for 4 years straight, and then he leaves them, they become a dog shit team, and then he goes to the Cavs, and the Cavs go to the finals for 4 years straight, and then he leaves them, and then they turn into a dog shit team, and then he goes to the Lakers, and they're about to be a playoff bound team until he gets hurt, and then they turn into a dog shit team, and now he's healthy, and now a lot of people are saying they're fucking finals bound, or at least what people would call essentially the finals between them and the Clippers. So again, I'm tired of that. He should have more MVPs, but again, we're not going to talk about that because then Wilt and Russell and Kareem would be the greatest of all time. So. And then we all know what happened this year. They were on their way to the finals, and then Corona happened, and then who knows what's going to happen from here. So let's talk about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan never got past the first round without Pippen. Pippen was also one of the greatest defensive players of all time. He was an 8-time all-defensive player, and Michael Jordan, without him, was unable to get past the Bad Boy Pistons until he got Scottie Pippen, and then also simultaneously, the Bad Boy Pistons essentially aged out, which... Again, I think anybody would disagree with. So let's see who Jordan played in the finals. 1991, he beat the Lakers. The only person I saw, I went up and looked up all of the rosters. I went looking at all the stats, what happened in all of the games. But I'm just focused on the teammates the rosters of the team that he faced in the finals. The only person whose name I recognized was James Worthy, and James Worthy was
not Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson's there, right? Oh no. Not 91, right? Okay, keep going, sorry.
Yep.
But I'm pretty sure AC Green was there, though, and he's a prominent Showtime player.
Fair enough. So, and James Worthy, at that point, he was leading prime. Again, that goes back to, older players, or players back in other generations, they didn't tear themselves as much as players in our generation did. So the longevity, that's another reason why that lasts, because, through sports science, we've been able to learn so much more, and players have been able to last longer. So 29 is like 33 for a current age player right now. Back then, at least in my opinion. 92, he beat the Trailblazers. They had Clyde Drexler. Then in 93, they beat the Suns. The Suns had Barkley. Then Jordan retired for the first time. Got to take a year off. Must be nice. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. The Warriors went to 5 finals straight, and then they all fell apart. So LeBron James went to, what was it, 8 finals in a row? 9 finals? 8? I think it's 8.
8, yeah. 8.
9 total, but 8 in a row, and got injured once his entire career, and then people shit on him for it, for having a partial season injury. It's amazing to me. And then, this is one of my favorite ones. 1995, Michael Jordan, in the prime of his career, lost to the Knicks in the second round of the playoffs.
That was a good Knicks team, though. That was a good Knicks team.
Yeah, it was a good fucking Knicks team.
Yeah.
He was also on the Bulls. He's also supposedly the best player of all time. Should have been able to beat them.
Okay, so are you talking about 95,
huh?
right? You're talking about 95?
Yeah.
Right, so he comes in, like, playing baseball, and then, like, just jumps into the NBA, like, I'm gonna still play, still wins a first-round game, like, a first-round series, and then loses the second round. But, like, the fact that he still won one, I thought was okay. But, continue.
I mean, he's still playing with the same guys, still playing on the same team.
Right, but he's gonna be rusty, right? Like, if we, okay, so this coronavirus
you could
thing,
say, I mean, you could say the same thing about LeBron James missing a whole bunch of the season last year.
Yeah, exactly. And he was rusty, right? So, like, if he went into the playoffs, I imagine he would win at least one series, and then maybe would have lost to the Rockets or
yeah,
the
but
Warriors.
but that's the thing. It's not like he just jumped into the playoffs. He had a whole season.
He didn't have a whole season. He had like 17 games.
No, 93 he played the Suns. 94 retired. 95 he played the Knicks.
But in 95, 17 games every season. Like he does not play a full season in 94, 95.
Is that true?
Yeah, I have his basketball reference thing. I could like screenshot it if you want to. But continue. You were making some good points. So.
Regardless, I mean, how the hell is that even possible?
Yeah, I don't even know. He's still averaging
like, hey,
26
you know what?
a game.
Like, I know the season's almost over, but I just want to join back up again.
Yeah,
it seems ridiculous, but whatever.
I have no idea.
Still, I mean, he still had all the same players. He's been playing basketball his entire life. I don't think that's not enough an excuse for me. But if you want to use it, go ahead, because I still have more. We're going to talk about 96. He beat the Sonics with Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. And then 97 or 98, he beat the Jazz with Karl Malone and John Stockton. Again, I want to say, also, I just want to point out, losing in the playoffs before getting to the finals in the prime of their career, also something LeBron James never did. Again, you can say it was because he didn't play enough, but I'm not going to. And then I just want to bring this fact back, that Karl Malone and John Stockton team, we're going to say that one was probably the best one that Jordan ever had lands. And I don't think that team was better than at least any of the 4 Warriors teams that he had to play against. So if we want to even the score a little bit, let's say you replace those 2 years with the Warriors, I don't think he's winning. You want to take 4 titles away, or 3 titles away like LeBron had. And LeBron actually beat that team. So
he didn't beat the KD team though.
But he beat the one that went 71-9.
73-9.
73-9.
Furthers your point,
but it just I can't see Jordan doing that. But still not done. This is my favorite one because I hadn't thought about this until I was going through this. In all of the teams that Jordan had to go up against in the finals, Jordan never had to go up against more than 2 Hall of Famers. LeBron in the finals, besides the Mavs series, never had to go against less than 3. Let that resonate.
Can you say that again? I was writing stuff down.
Sure.
Backtrack,
I'll repeat this for everybody listening, because this one I thought was one of the more devastating ones. In Michael Jordan's career, playing in the finals, his team, which had, at some times, 3, if not 4 Hall of Famers, and what a lot of people would say is the greatest basketball coach of all time, who coached the Bulls and the Lakers dynasties, Michael Jordan, with that stacked team, never had to go against more than 2 Hall of Famers. In
keep going. Sorry.
In LeBron James's career, in all of his finals appearances, other than the Mavs series, never had to go against less than 3.
Okay, so Jordan coming up, though. So he started in 84, right? And he's playing basically the golden era of basketball. Like, you could say how good basketball is now, but like the mid-'80s, like that 85 Celtics team is amazing. And pretty much the Lakers owned the 80s. You had Magic Johnson, you had Kareem, you had Larry Bird. So like and then we're not even talking about the bad boys, where you had Isaiah Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, and like Joe Dumars.
He didn't get past them until they all grew.
Right, but like he's still playing against Hall of Famers before he gets to the finals. Like
and then he couldn't beat them.
But
LeBron James was beating them.
He did beat Isaiah Thomas, though. He eventually did.
When he got old,
he got heavier.
And after he got Scottie Pippen.
Whatever. Like, the Jazz had better Hall of Famers, almost. Like, Karl Malone has, the second highest all time? Of points? And John Stockton has the most assists of all time, and no one's going to touch that. No one will ever touch that. That's
nobody's going to touch John Stockton. But are you seriously going to tell me that you'd rather have John Stockton and Karl Malone versus KD, Clay, Curry, and Draymond?
No, but like
that's 2 years. It's 2 for 2.
The fact that it's like 3 Hall of Famers versus like 2 Hall of Famers, and those 2 Hall of Famers are arguably at least top 20. Like, you could almost say that Steph Curry might not be a top 20 player of all time.
I wouldn't say that. He's the best shooter.
With his injuries.
I know.
He's the best shooter, but like I think when you rank it, you might not have him as top 20 right now.
He'd be ahead of John Stockton.
John Stockton was sneaky really good at shooting threes and like basically made Karl Malone as good as he was. Karl Malone, I think, honestly, is a little overrated because I think John Stockton made him who he was.
Well, we can get into that. I'm almost done.
Okay, keep going. Yeah.
Sort of. But let's talk about some other arguments about why LeBron James is not the greatest player of all time. One of my favorites. LeBron always passes up the big shot. Right? That fun one? You heard that before? 2 of Jordan's 6 finals were won by him passing up the shot. Paxson in 93 and Kerr in 97. And the one with Kerr in 97, Jordan had the shot. So, I don't want to hear anybody talking about LeBron James passing the ball up in big moments when he's passing the ball to Kyle fucking Korver, one of the greatest 3-point shooters. And by the way, I'm not going to berate Michael Jordan to passing to Kerr. Kerr's also one of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time. But don't shit on LeBron for making the right basketball play and then pretend that Jordan never did it, because 2 of his 6 finals were won on him passing the ball up to a shooter. LeBron James is not a clutch or a killer. This one. It's a good one, right? LeBron James versus Michael Jordan in tying or go-ahead field goals in the playoffs. Michael Jordan is 7 for 15, while LeBron is 12 for 23. LeBron James has a 52 percentage, and Michael Jordan has a 47 percentage. Not only does Michael Jordan did not shoot as many clutch shots, he didn't make as many, and he didn't make a higher percentage of them. So LeBron James took more and made a higher percentage of them. So every statistical measure. Yes?
Yeah, can you reiterate the Jordan? Because I think I heard 17 out of 15, which does not make sense. Was it 17 out of 35?
Sorry, 7 out.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, okay.
7 out of 15 at 47%, and then LeBron's 12 for 23 at 52%.
Yeah. Okay.
So, by every statistical category, LeBron James is a more clutch player than Michael Jordan was. You can argue, fucking eye test, whatever the hell you want, but in the culmination of their entire careers, LeBron James took more game winners, he made more game winners, and he made a higher percentage of game winners. There are no factual evidence that Michael Jordan is a more clutch player than LeBron James. You could say defensively, there's an argument there. I could talk about the LeBron James block, but right now we're talking about clutch shots because that's the thing that everybody focuses on. LeBron James chokes at the free throw line, right? He's a terrible, terrible free throw shooter, except in the 2016 Golden State series and the 2013 Spurs series. Both of those series were iced by LeBron James at the free throw line. Lastly, a couple quick points that I would like to make. LeBron James had to face dynasties while Michael Jordan got the opportunity or gift or whatever you want to call it or pleasure of playing with a dynasty. Obviously, Michael Jordan is, some people are going, I mean, a lot of people say he's the greatest of all time. I'm not going to say that, but at the very least, he's the second. One person a dynasty does not make. Charles Barkley will tell you that. But he got to play with two of the greatest perimeter defenders in the league at the same time. He got to play with one of the greatest shooters of all time. He got to get coached by one of the greatest coaches of all time. He got to play, and again, we talked about this before, continuity in sports is huge. Being able to play with the same players on the same team and develop a system without anything changing helps chemistry so much. And to be able to do that is a huge benefit to him. So the fact that he got to benefit off of playing with a dynasty, while LeBron James, his whole career, has had to go up against Goliaths and has beaten them a decent amount of times, I think is more of a testament to him if we are talking about level of difficulty. A lot of people bring up the hand-checking rule. Yeah, LeBron James did not play in the league of hand-checking, but if we're going to talk about how it was harder to play on defense with hand-checking, we're also going to talk about how it was easier to play defense with hand-checking. You don't think LeBron James would have been a much defensive player if he could hand-check people? Because I fucking think he could. I think that freak that played with the Heat would be hand-checking the shit out of some people. And I think if Michael Jordan had played in the league where he couldn't hand-check people, I don't think he would have been as good of... I still think he would be an elite defender, but we don't know that. So it's kind of a mute argument because not only did they not go up against... Because we're talking about both sides of the ball with these players. So, yeah, they one player didn't have to go up against it, but the other player got to use it. So it kind of cancels it out. But if we're also going to talk about hand-checking, I don't want to talk about how everybody in NBA is soft now because LeBron James gets fouled every single time he drives to the basket and only gets about half of the goals. I have seen him get dragged by his shoulders to the ground. I've seen him getting slapped in the face and not get calls. That man will move through mountains. And he kind of plays... He's the closest thing to the Shaq rule. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
So, back when Shaq played, he was such a dominant force that refs had to referee him differently, which I always thought was bullshit. So, like, he was such like a physical dominant force that he could just bully people, where they had to like not call fouls on Shaq, or like against Shaq, or people that were fouling him, because it was the only way for them to defend him. So LeBron James is the closest thing that I've seen to that, because there are a lot of times that I just see him get absolutely hacked and not get the call. Lastly, I just want to go on this point. LeBron James can play all 5 positions. LeBron James can guard all 5 positions. He makes every single player on his team better. He's bigger, he's taller, he's faster, he's stronger. And nobody would disagree that LeBron James would absolutely dominate Jordan one-on-one. That is my argument for why LeBron James is the greatest player in the history of basketball.
All right, okay. I thought those were some valid points, and I wrote some stuff to counter what you were saying, and I also had some stuff too. So, okay, I'm a Michael Jordan fan, if anyone didn't notice, and I think he's the greatest of all time. And I'm just going to go off the top. His PER is 27.9. LeBron's PER is 27.5. If there's any stat that shows like who is the best player, is PER. But like, I'm pretty sure that Kareem has a higher one, or like Will Chamberlain. But that's not for this conversation. 11 All NBA. LeBron beats him out, I believe, at that with 15. He's got 5 MVPs, so Jordan has 1 MVP more than LeBron. He's 9-time All Defensive team, which is 3 more than LeBron at 6. He has 10 scoring titles, with LeBron only has 1. He has 1 Defensive Player of the Year, which LeBron has none, and he has 3 leading the league in steals. And LeBron would have been leading this year in assists, so there's 1 for that. And then they were both Rookie of the Year, which really doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to go to what you were saying. So with the awards, one thing I do like to point out, though, is when everyone brings up, like, Bill Russell won 11 titles out of 13, like, he was playing in the league where racism was still rampant, like, in the 60s. And basically, the Celtics were the only team that was like, you know what we could do? We could play, like, 5 African-American players because they're better. And then they just, like, dominated. So that's really where Russell was kind of killing it, because, like, there were still, like, teams would play white players to get, like, fans, like, into their teams. So that's, like, an argument against Russell. And I'm pretty sure everyone has Russell at 4. Like, I'm pretty sure it goes Jordan or LeBron 1, 2, then Kareem, Russell. So he's still up there. Free throw percentage, like, okay, he might be better playoffs, but, like, Jordan was an 83.5%, and LeBron is getting worse at this, and it's at 73.5 now and could go down.
He's at 74.3, and Michael was at 82.8, at least in the playoffs.
Oh, okay, gotcha. But I mean, like, I felt like throughout regular season and just generally, Jordan is a better free throw shooter.
Yeah, I'll concede that for days.
Yeah. So minutes played, and a lot of this has to do with, like, and you can say this too with, like, Brady and how he's just played longer. Like, Jordan had to play 3 years of college basketball, and then, like, had that stint where he played baseball for 2 years. And
why didn't you go straight to the NBA?
He couldn't. That was
why not?
Yeah, that was against the rules in the 80s. I'm pretty sure, because Garnett was, like, one of the first ones to redo that. So that was later. So you had to play at least 2 years, I think, in the NBA. Don't quote me on that, but he still had to play those. He still played those 3 years. So a lot of those stats, especially like minutes, like I get the LeBron's minutes is like absurd. I think it's like 56,000 there. I can't even quote that, but like the reason if Jordan didn't have those 3 years, he'd have more stats. Rebounds, I'm gonna give you. Like LeBron, of course, he is because he's like 3 inches taller and 6 pounds heavier. Like Karl Malone's gonna have more rebounds. If you're just taller and bigger, you're just gonna have more of those rebounds.
So the first NBA player to go straight from high school to basketball was Moses Malone in 1974.
Right, but there's like a gap of like 20 years because someone else comes in after Moses Malone, and then it like gets banned or something. I was looking this up 'cause, like when I was doing the Kobe tribute one, it was like Garnett was like the first in like 20 years, and then Kobe came in straight from the high school. So LeBron, I think, still had better players on his teams, and so the second iteration of so 96, 97, 98, like I think Jordan had the better players, but like the first iteration was not so much because Pippen was just like he was just coming of his own. They did not have Rodman yet. Horace Grant was like just a youngin. And they were...
Yeah, but again, in that first iteration, the talent that they went up against was pretty soft.
Not really, but Clyde Drexler was a great...
Yeah, but it was just Clyde Drexler.
Okay, so that's probably the worst team, I'll give you that. But, like, this Lakers team is not that bad. Like, they just...
Who else is on it besides James Worthy?
Well, James Worthy, like, AC Green, why can I not? Because Johnson was off, right? Because he had the thing in... I forget when. That's still a good team, though. And, like he's still... Like, the Suns team, right? I can't quote who the other players were, but they had 3 All-Stars on their team, like, including Barkley. So... And then when you go to LeBron, like, who has LeBron played with? He's played with Dwayne Wade, who is easily a top 3 shooting guard of all time. He's played with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, and you could argue those players aren't as, like, elite as, like, Pippen or not, but they're still great. And, like, Kyrie is one of the best players to play against, or to play with LeBron, because he's just, like, a player that can create his own shot. Yeah. In his prime, right? This is my, like, problem with LeBron, is I feel like he has to play with the best players in their prime, and then when they're not in their prime, he just like ditches them and then joins with someone else. So he basically like ditched Wade when he was like, I want to say like falling off, but like just getting older. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna go. But like that was more like go back to Cleveland. So I don't know, maybe Wade just didn't want to go there.
And to be fair, Kyrie left LeBron.
Yeah, and Kyrie, I hate to admit it, but Kyrie's kind of a nutcase. So his mind isn't really there.
By the way, on that Suns team, you had Barkley, Kevin Johnson, Richard Dumas, Dan Majiri, Danny Ainge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Oliver Miller, Tom Chambers, Mark West, Cedric Sabonis, Frank Johnson, and Negali Knight.
Okay, so I think Johnson and then Dumars are the 2 other All-Stars. And then you said Danny Ainge, right? Like, he's a great NBA player. He's probably older at that point. But
yeah, he was 33.
Yeah. Where was I? Okay, another thing that I can't... This is where it's just like the ultimate competitiveness. I know that was like a Kobe thing, but it was definitely like a Jordan thing where he just would like... He would just take you down, like cut your throat, and just like step on it and basically like kill you. And like in 2011,
did you not watch LeBron on the Heat against the Game 7 against the Spurs?
Which one? 2013? Oh yeah. So I'm talking more about 2011. So I'm not going to talk about 07 because, like you said, there was no one on that team. And LeBron like carried them. That's his own feet. Like, good job by you. He did not. There is video evidence that he did not back down JJ Barea. Like, this is like, and he's like, I don't know, 24, 25. Like, he's been in the league around. This is his second finals. Like, he should really like pin him down.
Yeah, that's fair.
And he didn't do that.
There's never been a day that I have never conceded the Mavs. I think he had a little bit of the jitters. But, you know, you can argue that, but then I'll just throw the Knicks right in your face. So.
Right, but, like, he played 17 games that season. And it was just, like, that's like a month? Maybe a little more.
And he got smacked.
Yeah, whatever. The Knicks team. All right, yeah, and then I think you said this, but, like, the 2014... that Heat team when they lost to the Spurs, I thought they were better. It's close, really, because the aging Duncan, Ginobili and Parker, they're amazing, but like they're on the tail end of their careers, and you just have Kawhi coming up, who's incredible and one of my favorite players, obviously.
Yeah.
The 2013, so that infamous game.
Did they also have Gasol?
Possibly. I would have to check that. And then so 2013, the big thing about that shot where like LeBron he misses it and then Bosh gets it, throws to Ray Allen in the corner and they shoot it. The biggest thing about that game is like Popovich benching Tim Duncan, who's arguably one of the best rebounders, was not on the floor, which basically allowed Chris Bosh to get free and do that. So that's on Pop, and that's not against LeBron or anything. I just wanted to kind of say that. I'd say, I guess to give you more points, or at least LeBron more points, like 2015, I thought was LeBron's like second best NBA performance finals, even though you said that 2017 he averaged a triple double.
You said 2015?
2015, yeah. So the fact that Kevin Love, the stupid Kelly Olynyk thing, which is egregious and awful, where he like breaks his elbow or whatever happened.
Yeah.
And then Kyrie gets hurt game 1. He basically, like you said, he had like Delanova on his team. So the fact that he drew that out to 6 games, and like if you go, I haven't done this personally, but if you go back and watch the games, he like basically slowed the pace down. And you can look at the scores, it's like 96 to like 80.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like I need to slow this. This Warriors team is just fast and quick. I need to control this game, and he totally did.
That's the thing too, is he has a bigger basketball IQ than Michael Jordan. That's nobody's going to debate that either, because every single series he played differently, and he did what he needed. Like, I mean, the way that he played that series completely different from the way that he played, what was it, 2018, where he went 55 or 51 8-8, where he was like,
oh yeah,
you need to win this game, and I don't have a team right now, so I am just going to do everything. And that right there, proof LeBron James can do everything. Also, that was, just going to make a quick point right there. That was the year that LeBron James, I think, statistically had his best season. And that was the year that James Harden won MVP, when LeBron James 1,000% should have won it.
Okay,
I think I sent you in that link.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
So I guess the IQ thing, I think it's like a different type of IQ, because like you said, Jordan still passed the ball sometimes if he was double covered, and like Steve Kerr has the shot, Paxton had the shot, like he still has that IQ. He just has a different IQ. Like he would rather just like do it himself. He's almost like a better Kobe, whereas like, oh, players are going to guard me, I'm going to shoot a more difficult shot and it's still going to go in. So like, and then if it was like 3 players would guard him, then he would pass it, right? So he still has I still think he has a higher IQ, and like if you consider scoring IQ, like obviously LeBron's a better passer. Like no one, I think, can argue against that. You could argue LeBron's the best passer like ever. Maybe I'd probably say Stockton, but you could definitely argue that. And then 2016 is obviously the best for LeBron, though he did entice Draymond to kick him in the crotch, though that's kind of sneaky good.
Yeah, that was fucking
that's more IQ.
By the way, I don't know if I've ever told you this. I called that happening.
I think you have, but keep going. Yeah.
So I was living in Boston at the time, and I had, I was going to like a Planet Fitness because it was the only gym I could find, and there was this guy that I would like see in the locker room every day, and we would just like talk about sports for 10 minutes while we were getting changed or whatever, and like that was when all the finals were going on. He knew that I was a Cavs fan, and he asked me after like four games, like, hey man, I'm sorry, do you have like any hope right now? And I'm like, listen, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but Draymond Green has like, what was it, like he only needs one more tech before he gets ejected and misses an entire game. I think if LeBron James can do something to piss him off like he's been doing the entire series, and Draymond Green blows his lid like he always does, Draymond Green will get tossed, they'll win that game, then they'll be able to go home to Cleveland without Draymond, win that game, and then have the momentum of that 2-game swing going into the 7th game of the finals. And I think that momentum will be enough to put them over the hump. That's what I think they should do, and that's what I'm like praying will actually happen. And then I even made a fucking meme on my Twitter. I'm not even sure if it's like I could go back and find it, but it's literally a picture of like a guy poking a bear with a stick, and I cropped in Draymond's face on the bear and LeBron's face on the guy with the stick.
Nice, solid. Fritz the Psychic. There you go. I forgot where I was. Blah, blah, blah. Alright, okay, and then going to 2017. So that Warriors team, I think, is the best offensive team ever. Just at least from a shooting standpoint. And the problem with this whole thing, too, it's just debating Jordan or LeBron, is like the whole era argument. Because basketball is so different back then than it is now. Like the whole hand-checking rule, how three-point shots has evolved, the pace of the game, all that stuff. All right, so the big thing with LeBron is that he went to 8 straight finals. Can you tell me the best team he faced against in the Eastern Conference that 8-year run?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, so like young Paul George and the Pacers, that's probably who I'd go with. But like, right, like Al Horford, Kyle Korver, who am I missing? Ish Smith of the Hawks, like my DeRozan Raptors, like there really isn't that good Eastern Conference foes. And like I think the fact that he went there 8 times, it's incredible, but it's not as impressive as people are saying because of the talent. And that's not to knock LeBron, but it's just like it's just there, you know. And basically like after the whole Pacers thing, like Hibbert is basically out of the league. I think Ian Mahinmi was on that team, and then like the Wizards signed him to this crazy contract, and he can't even get on the floor. So it's like the talent that Jordan had to go through to get to his first finals was obscenely better than LeBron. MVP. So it is totally a regular season award. And like you said, with the whole, what was that 2015? That Harden one? That LeBron really should have won?
I don't think there's besides maybe one of the 2 years that Steph won it and the year that KD won it, I don't think there's any other years that it should not have been given to LeBron.
Right, okay. So if you go back to, there's a year, I think it's 96. I don't have the MVPs up right now, but Karl Malone wins the MVP over Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan actually had fairly better stats. 97. So Jordan was 29 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, and 4.3 assists per game, compared to Malone's 27 points per game, almost 10 rebounds per game, and 4 assists per game. And honestly, the whole like rebound thing is obvious because he's like a power forward. He's going to get more rebounds. And also, this isn't the 96 year, but Jordan still led the team to a 69-13 record versus the Jazz at 64-18. And then, like I know I just said, the MVP award is a regular season award, but the Bulls beat the Jazz in that finals too. So like, okay, LeBron should have 5, like Jordan should have 6. Like the media's gonna get it wrong. So
you want to say LeBron should have 5, and Jordan should have 6? You can give Jordan 6. I think LeBron James should have like 6 or 7 because let's say that the year that so how many does he have right now? What, 4? So there's the year that Derrick Rose won it. Definitely shouldn't have won it. I would definitely give him at least one of the, not the year that Steph unanimously won it, but the other year. I would also give that to LeBron James. I would give it to the year that Russell Westbrook won. The only reason he won that was because he averaged a triple-double, but LeBron James literally could have done that any year in that he actually wanted to. Russ was just stat padding, and everybody who watches basketball knows that. And there's not a single person who would pick Russell Westbrook to be on their team over LeBron James. And then the year that James Harden won it, again, I would give it to LeBron James. But Giannis last year, obviously he deserved it. So that's 8. That's 8 MVPs.
No, but like LeBron James, he tones it down at the end, like the last 2 months of the regular season, so his stats aren't there. His only stats were there was that 2015 season against Harden. Like Curry had better stats all those years. Russell Westbrook had those stats better years. I know he's stat padding, but like it's a regular season award. LeBron kills it in the playoffs, and that's what everyone remembers is those playoff experiences. But like those last 2 months in the regular season, you can't just like take those off and expect to get MVPs. All right, so I guess this depends on era-wise, but I do think that Bulls team could run with that Warriors 2017 team. So like Pippen could guard KD, Jordan could guard Steph or Clay, whoever's having a better game.
You think Pippen could guard KD?
Absolutely, he's 6'9". He's like not where he shuts down KD, but like better than any of the Cavs teams could guard them.
Okay.
You shut down those 2 or 3. I think that leaves like Steph probably more open. Unless you throw like Horace Grant out there, but I don't think that would really work. I think, but like right, so the problem with arguing this is like if you played in the Bulls era, like I think the Bulls would win just because they're more physical. If you played in this era, like the Warriors would probably win more. Also, just like on the other side of the ball, I think you could expose, like if Steph's on the floor, you just like throw the ball to whoever Steph is guarding, and they pretty much can own him. Well, he's guarding like Steve Kerr, but Steve Kerr could just like run around picks and.
That's also not fair because then the Warriors don't have a coach.
Oh right, very true.
Yo, speaking of which, Steve Kerr might have the best run of any person in the history of basketball.
Yeah. Steve Kerr is on my list of like 4 people I would have dinner with, like living or dead, because he played with Jordan, coached with Pop, and then coached like Steph and KD.
Yeah.
Like, I think his like basketball mind is like the most
how many rings does he have?
I don't even know. Definitely more than his hand. Like both hands. Though was he like part of all 6? Or was he like just the second half? Probably just the second half, right?
I think it was just the second half.
Right. Steve Kerr.
That's not right. It says as a player he has 5 in 96,
Okay.
97, 98, 99, 2003. So then you also add in the 4 that the Warriors won. He's got 9. And then how many years did he coach with Pop?
I think 3 or 4. I think he only has like he had at most 2 because it was like in the 10s. So like that 14 one. Or maybe he just has 1. He probably just has 1 from that.
Hold on, let's see. Executive career, coaching career. Oh.
All right, while you look that up, I'm just going to keep going. So LeBron might have better clutch stats, and I'm going to say this, like, out loud. I think I've said this before, but like the whole LeBron is not clutch thing is a overused argument for LeBron haters that is just not true like the past 10 years. Like that's just stupid. Though LeBron doesn't have, I think it's the eye test thing is really what it is. It's like that game 6 like shove off on Karl Malone and like before that too, he steals the ball from Karl Malone and goes down like for the game winning shot. That's iconic. And then he also has the shot against your Cavs to like lift them and I assume go to the finals. I forget when that shot was. So it's just like I feel like there's levels of clutch shots where it's like if you like Damian Lillard's that one year, last year, that's incredibly clutch shot from like where it is. But like when you think about it, they're tied, they're up 3-1, right? Like that game's gonna go to overtime, so it's not as clutch as you say it, or when you think about it. But like this is like a finals like game winning shot. Like I think that's just and right,
yeah,
like
all
LeBron.
All those shots were in the playoffs though.
Yeah, exactly. So, crap, I'm losing my train of thought. I just still think those shots are super clutch. So I already went through free throw shooting. and I already kind of talked about this, but like I felt like LeBron played so like the fact that Jordan played with his own core and like he didn't try to like trade away all his players. Like it seemed like I think one of the second to last year of the Cavs, or no, the last year because that's when they got Isaiah Thomas. They basically like traded all these teams. I feel like LeBron just kind of passive aggressively complains about teammates until like they totally dispatch these teams, and then like
I think that's, to be honest, I think that's pretty overblown.
I think that's pretty blown.
I don't no, because there was what was it, 8 years he spent with the Cavaliers, and the best player that they could get to play with him was Eric Snow. Like, come on, get the guy.
They still had Kyrie though, and they still had Kevin Love.
No. I'm talking about the first 8 years. So him leaving the first time, I put no blame on him at all. I would leave too. Like he had no help. They didn't try and sign anybody good. They didn't draft anybody good. Cleveland always has been, and for the foreseeable future will be for a long time, a shithole for sports.
Okay, but so when he joins with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and like the Miami Heat, the Heatles and everything, like why doesn't he just play that out? Why doesn't he stick with Dwayne Wade and try to? Because then he switches and plays with a better Kyrie Irving.
You didn't let me finish. That is the one that I would criticize him against, saying that he just left all of his friends. But again, you could also say that he felt he owed something to the city of Cleveland. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, that's true.
So
why not convince
Kyrie
him?
left him, and then he's stuck in Cleveland again, where he can get not a lot of talent. I mean, that again, the team that he dragged to the 2018 finals was dog shit, and then most of the time that most of the passive aggressive stuff that people talk about was really just the year with the Lakers. And would you blame him?
I mean, okay, so this is another thing where it's like you have to be a specific player to play with LeBron because he like controls the tempo. Like you're looking at this year, he's basically like the point forward. So you basically have to surround him. You have to be a shooter, like a good defender. Like you can't really be a shot creator because he's the one that's like creating the shots. I mean, that can work with like Kyrie Irving or I think like a Devin Booker would work.
You need like one guy.
Right, but it's a totally different team with him on it. Like you have to adjust like every single position. I think this is why teams, when LeBron leaves, it's just such a gaping hole because it's just like, oh, we're just a bunch of shooters and like kind of good defenders. Like there's no one else that could create their own shot. So I think that is kind of why when LeBron leaves, it's just like terrible. And like the Lakers, right? I don't think they're going to be good at all because they're going to, first off, they have no draft picks. They're going to have Anthony Davis, who has not yet to prove he's like a good enough player as the number one option.
I agree too.
So, I think that wraps it up. I'll give you the hand check argument because it's just like, again, it's another two different eras. You can't really like judge that. And then the whole hacking thing, I always thought that LeBron complained about like getting calls and it's really annoying, but when you actually look at it, he totally gets hit.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of this argument, I can say that like I am not convinced that LeBron is still better, and you're not convinced that Jordan is still better, and
that's the thing with debates. Nobody's but
yeah.
I think whoever's listening to this is going to be able to hear both arguments and pick a side, or maybe learn a couple new things, or people are just going to listen for validation.
Yeah, exactly. I did not know the clutch thing. I didn't know LeBron had more clutch, so that was good.
Yeah.
That was new info. All right, I think that wraps it up.
Doing it all in my research, I think the coolest thing that I learned was like I had never really like gone too much in depth about all of the competition that Jordan went against. So when I found out that he had never had to go up against more than two All-Stars at the same time, that was kind of like a glaring like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of their careers have kind of seemed like, to me, LeBron has had to Like if we're talking about like mountains to climb, I feel like LeBron's incline has been a lot higher, and that's what it feels like to me personally.
Right, but I just felt like Barkley probably should have won one at some point, but like Jordan basically denied that. Like, I know this probably doesn't happen, but like if he doesn't leave and play baseball for 2 years, could he have won another one? Like, could he have won both of those? Probably not. I think he probably could have won one.
Maybe.
So, but like that happened, or it didn't happen. So he did play fucking baseball for no apparent reason. All right. Well, anyways, that was great. That was fun. That was a long one, but I had a pleasure doing this. Thanks, Fritz, for coming on. You're the only person I thought to do this because we have polarizing ones, and I think we're both civil, which is nice.
Oh yeah, no, trust me, I got in a political argument with my mom like yesterday and the day before, and it did not go well. So
it's rough. I feel you on that. If you have any takes or any mailbag questions, you could do it at snowflakesports at gmail.com or snowflakesportspod at gmail.com.
When did you start doing mailbag questions?
So I have, but no one sent me anyone. So I'm kind of disappointed, but I'm going to keep doing it till someone says me. So if anything comes in, especially if it's like a Fritz specific question, I'll wait till Fritz is on again. All right. Thank you, Fritz, for coming on. All right. And peace.